Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious effort so that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels completely hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today I'm talking about what to do when your husband never does anything special for you. My guest, Jessica's marriage was so lonely and full of verbal onslaughts and criticism, she cried herself to sleep every night. They had big fights, especially about parenting, and she felt like her husband hated her. And her self-confidence in her marriage were at an all-time low when she Googled how to stay married to a narcissist. But that led her to a discovery that changed the entire trajectory of their lives. And today she has a peaceful home filled with love and laughter. She's going to describe the steps she took to get there so you can get there too. Then I'll be giving out the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award, which is about like telling someone who's very depressed that things will never get better. Wait till you hear. All of that is coming up. But first, I want to talk about what to do when your husband never does anything special for you. If he never does anything romantic, it's a sad place to be. You know, he's capable of being sweeter than he's being. I mean, he turned on the charm to get you in the beginning. Was that just to lure you in for the old bait and switch where you're taken for granted while he lies around scratching his groin like Al Bundy? Now that you've put in all the hard work to build a life together, it's like he values you less, not more. That's how it feels. If you're seeing the signs that your husband doesn't value you, it's so hurtful. It's tempting to start feeling hopeless when your husband is just not thoughtful. And if you go to Google for the prognosis, forget about it. A lot of the so-called experts out there will steer you straight to divorce court. That's probably not your desired destination, or you wouldn't be listening to me right now. If what you really want is to revive the romance and make it last, well, here are 2 concrete steps you can take today to start feeling desired, taken care of, and special pronto. Number 1, create a romance plan of action. You can have a game plan. As you well know, your husband's not a mind reader, and maybe you've already tried to spell your needs and desires out for him. If you're anything like I was, it sounded something like this, like, I need you to spend more time with me, or I need you to be more romantic. And the problem is that saying something like that comes across as complaining. It just sounds like criticism. And here's a spoiler alert. Criticism and complaining don't spur your man into action. They are not irresistible. They won't make you irresistible. They will make you resistible because they're actually less attractive. It's basically as repellent as 2 magnets facing the wrong way. A much more magnetic approach would be to simply say, vulnerably, how much you miss spending time with him. Yeah, for a really great conversation, say these 3 little words. I miss you. And that's it. If that's not what you had in mind, well, I know how you feel. As a woman, I tend to have a lot more words than my husband does. That's part of why the 4 most dreaded words in the male culture are, we need to talk. Having a State of the Union address and trying to find out where he stands or what he plans not only hurts the very intimacy you're trying to cultivate, it's selling yourself short. Because as the woman, you are the keeper of the relationship. So it's a lot less important what he wants than what you want and what you're planning to do about it. I mean, what if instead of waiting around for him to woo you and then being disappointed when pigs don't fly, what if you created that romance plan of action? I mean, it's very easy to know what you don't want, right? But that's a complaint still. So what is it that you do want specifically? Now, I'm not talking about instituting a date night either. Instead, what if you could wave your magic wand? what would you be doing on that date? Would you be trying the new Ethiopian restaurant, or taking a Sunday drive, or going on a bike ride, or a getaway to Aruba? Now we're getting somewhere. Once you have a clear vision of exactly the outcome you want, express your desire in a way that inspires with the magic formula. I would love, and then fill in the blank. I would love to try the new Ethiopian restaurant. Notice you're not asking him for anything. There's no expectation on him at all, and no pouty face if he doesn't hop to it, right? That would be controlling, which is as repellent as complaining and criticism. So instead, you're just putting your desire out there, just sharing the excitement of being a woman who knows what she wants. Just kind of like a little kid who might say, I want the Iron Man Legos. Beverly had that excitement when she expressed her desire to stay at this extravagant hotel. And there was zero expectation attached because she was sure it would never happen. It was just way out of their ballpark financially. Until for her birthday, he drove her to the extravagant hotel. Beverly felt like a princess. When they pulled up, her husband had this big loving smile as he watched her face light up with surprise and with delight. And what he couldn't see was her heart fit to burst with gratitude. This hero, going to any lengths to fulfill her desire, was the same man who, 10 months earlier, wouldn't even go out to dinner with her because he wanted nothing to do with her. Number 2, set the mood for intimacy. Now, if your man won't even make love to you, much less make grand gestures like taking you to an extravagant hotel, well, there's no need to sit around twiddling your thumbs and just waiting. And I'm not talking about saying to him, we need to have sex, or pointing out how long it's been since the last time, which is complaining. I tried all of that lots of times, and trust me, it's not sexy at all. Rather, you could make the first move by just showing that you are available for sex, allowing him to initiate. What's that? You've forgotten how to seduce your man? Well, fortunately, you can bring back your feminine spirit, and you don't have to jump through hoops to be attractive to your husband. I mean, you didn't have to do that when you attracted him in the first place, right? A lingering kiss, stroking his thigh, telling him how excited you're feeling. That's all it takes. And if you're thinking, right, well, you don't know my man. Well, you're not alone, first of all. Tony would wait for her husband in her skimpiest negligee. But when he walked through the door and saw her, she might as well have been wearing the garbage man's uniform. If that's your sexual situation too, there's probably something else getting in the way of the intimacy you deserve, and something no amount of lingerie can fix. Chances are what's gone missing is the best aphrodisiac on the planet for men. Nope, it does not require ginseng or pheromone perfume or oysters or asparagus. The biggest aphrodisiac for men, it's respect. It's respect. And there's a simple way to restore it if it's gone missing, just using 7 words. Those words are, I apologize for being disrespectful when I, and then filling in the specific words or actions that you want to clean up. Those are the words that Tony tried out. And now all it takes to get a steamy evening is a kiss. Seriously. If you go that route, there is one side effect that you should be aware of, however. You might feel like you're wearing pheromone perfume, one that actually works. If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest. My guest Jessica's marriage was so lonely and full of verbal onslaughts and criticism that she cried herself to sleep every night. They had big fights, especially about parenting, and she felt like her husband hated her. Her self-confidence and her marriage were at an all-time low when she Googled how to stay married to a narcissist. But that led her to a discovery that changed the entire trajectory of their lives. And today she has a peaceful home filled with love and laughter. She's going to describe the steps she took to get there so that you can do it too. Jessica, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. And thank you for generously coming on and telling your story today.
And thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, great. I'm excited to hear the whole story. So take us back to the battle days. What was your marriage like?
We actually started off probably set up to fail. I didn't realize it at the time. We knew each other in high school and had a huge crush on him, but we didn't start seeing each other until maybe the second year of college. And we went to separate colleges, and I was head over heels. And I looked forward to seeing him. And when we would get in any kind of disagreement or fight, I would just go to pieces. Like, there was no communication because we were in different places. So it really set up the, withdraw and then cling dynamic where I would chase around like a lost puppy. So we eventually moved in together and we're going to get married. And all this time, we faced unemployment. I was laid off from my job. There was a recession, family illness, family drama, debt, a lot of challenges. And my marriage is the most important thing to me, the only thing that matters. And so I felt like I could face all those things when things were going well. So we were working through them, and so I kind of reset every night. Like, I thought I was the forgive and forget kind. And it took reading your book to realize that's not what I was doing. So like, we would have these big fights, and I would feel like they came out of nowhere. And obviously it wasn't that way for my husband. And so we were just kind of maintaining, and we finally had our son, and there were complications with the labor and delivery, and he had like a very minor health issue, but combining that with his like natural tendency to not sleep, like, I got home from the hospital and like I couldn't read the breast pump instructions. Like, I was not okay. And so he didn't sleep. He slept like 20-minute increments.
Oh.
So like, if there's sleep deprivation torture, I think that was it. And so
yeah, that sounds torturous.
It was awful. And I felt like I was drowning, and this went on a couple of years between that and the sleeping. And we disagreed on how to parent at night. And I was drowning, and I felt like I needed help. And I think that one of the recent podcasts really spoke to me, that survival mode. Because I feel like between all the challenges we've faced, and then adding the challenges with a baby and sleeping and disagreements in parenting, I've been constant survival mode the whole time we've been together. So then things kept coming to a head, disagreeing on the parenting. And then, in addition to disagreeing on parenting at night, I never dreamed that we'd disagree on how to parent in general. And I found, I guess, respectful parenting before I found how to be a respectful wife. And looking back, really can't believe, I can't imagine how it must have felt for him. Like, I was respecting my toddler probably more than my husband. And I had a lot of hints and cues along the way. Like, I was looking for answers. I even wrote into this parenting expert, and she was basically like, well, your husband's probably realizing you're not setting his boundaries. She basically pointed the finger at me, and I was like, no, that can't be it.
Definitely not.
So I ignored that. Um, and so we kept having these, like, I call them black hole fights. Like, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, there is no way to get back intimacy. Like, we hit rock bottom and like then continue to get lower and lower and lower. Until he was like, you don't respect me as a parent, then what are we doing here? And the whole time, again, like, I'm struggling, survival mode, and I was crying myself to sleep. A lot of criticism. He would say, you're not putting in any effort, and so I would, I would take that to mean, like, then I'd get dressed, maybe wear makeup for a day or two, or make something to eat, and that's clearly not what he was referring to, and I had no idea. And I tried all the things. I did suggest counseling one time, and I got a very negative response, of course.
What did he say when you said counseling?
I don't remember. He's just very mad. Like, again, like, it was me just hinting at it, asking it was insinuating that he's the problem, basically. So, like, it was basically over. And we were still in the same house. The worst part was he would leave in the morning because we would have these fights, and then he'd go and retreat, solitude, and I'm left standing there with a baby or a toddler, and that's the worst feeling. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, and so he would leave in the morning for work, and I was holding our son, and he would, like, somehow, like, I was a ghost, like, not see me, like, not make eye contact, not say anything. And it was just, it was the worst feeling. I can't even describe it. Like, the despair and grief I was feeling, just so low and no way out. And so I'm ashamed to say I was Googling, looking for some kind of help. And I'm sure it was like something like how to get this to stop, or the criticisms. And, I'm reading all the wonderful diagnosis Google provides, about narcissism. And I was like, it was so final. Everything I read, like, oh, get out, they're terrible. But I knew, like, that's not who he is. It wasn't always this way. So I think it was when I was like, I knew I wanted to stay married, and nothing I could find would stay, how to cope with, or how to stay with someone like that. And when I found your book in that specific chapter, I read it. What really spoke to me, and what I'm still in awe of, is basically the whole time all this is getting worse and going on, he literally told me what the problem was. Like, every time he would say, like, you don't love me, which flew all over me. It was a huge trigger because I've always loved them, even that things were the worst. I always loved them. But he would also say, you don't listen to me, you don't respect me. And I really thought that I was the same, and his view of me had changed. I was the tough case. So I read your book, and I realized exactly everything I did. And he was telling me the whole time, screaming at me, everything that's in your book. Like, he's telling me. But the way you wrote it in such a way, it was so disarming that it was the same information, but I was able to read it and not be defensive, because I was always defensive. And we really didn't agree on anything, and there was no hope. So I read your book, and I wish I could say I feel like a lot of people have experienced, a switch flipped afterward, and that's wonderful. But why I wanted to come on here is because it took me a long time to get to where we are today, but it's worth it. So I realized I'm still working on the skills every day. So I started with duct tape and just everything, and it even shone a light on our past fights. he bought me a dress this one time, and we didn't even have any money. And I was so insecure about my body image at the time. Like, I obviously showed that I didn't like how it looked on me. And like, he got really mad, and I didn't understand that because it was about me until I read, about receiving. So like, everything looks so different. And I had, by this time, like 12 years of just disrespect built up. So there was a lot of bait, and I had apologized so much that like apologizing had lost its value. Started crying because I would always say, I'm sorry, I love you. Like, I didn't know what to do, but I was sorry. So I tried like employing all the skills at once. I had to write them down, read them every day. Um, Self-care was really hard because I would do self-care and still not feel better. I was so low. I tried to like write down good things about myself. I couldn't think of any good qualities because, again, the only person who mattered to me didn't see me very favorably. So I just put them together, and I was posting in a Facebook group. I did it without a coach. I would have given anything to have had a coach, anything, but financially it just was not possible. So I did use the Facebook group, and I found support there, which is invaluable. So I tried all of them. I used Ouch, but it got a negative response at first because, again, I was so in my feelings for so many years. It wasn't being vulnerable. It was like, it was seen as self-pity at first. So it's different for everybody. So you have to kind of navigate your way through them. But I think it was 6 months in, I remember in my birthday card, he wrote, basically, I see the effort you've been putting in and things have been better. And that really was everything to me.
Melted you. Yeah.
Yes. And that was, again, 6 months in, and it was hard. It was really hard. I would feel like I would take 3 steps forward and 10 steps back. Like, I would start to feel comfortable, like resetting, feeling like we had that intimacy, but again, not accounting for him. All of that happened is still very prominent and recent for him. So especially when it would come up, like, it would just feel like the rug was pulled out from under me. You have to get back up and start over. So I also really enjoyed the podcast and the book because it was perspective. I felt like he didn't care for me anymore, right? But he was still in our house, and whether someone's partner has left or not, there's always something. And I started realizing, there's a lot he does that I've never thought about. He picks up his clothes off the floor, you know. So he was still in our house, and I was grateful for that. And I started like keeping a note of not even wins, although those two, but ways he showed love, even though I didn't feel it. So, like you mentioned, paying the bills, going to work, coming home. So it started off with like maybe real basics. And I realized I used to do that, when I was 19, and like all the ways he showed he loved me, I would jot them down, write in a journal. And I think that's a big part of the focus. And I still do it.
Jessica, this is huge because it sounds like you really made a big decision to shift your focus from what he wasn't doing to show that he loved you, or just that feeling you just felt unloved, and you decided to start counting your blessings instead of your curses.
Yeah, and it sounds easier even than it was. But because there is a lot at stake. Like, I burned my marriage to the ground over, how to parent at night and the day. Basically, I chose what I thought was right, and so it took like he would raise his voice, and it took like I realized, my toddler like was undisturbed. Like it did not faze him. And like here, from my growing up, I was trauma. I was like trauma. Like I would start shaking, crying, run to my room. And so I realized, if my child can like not be fazed by this, like I can probably control my emotions too. And again, it's really hard because I thought before the skills in the book, I thought that I was taking the high roads when maybe he would like raise his voice a little bit and like I wouldn't say anything, but like I'm sure all over my face there was disapproval and disgust. And so the way you respond, it's so true. Like it changes, you get the outcome you want. Like one time there was a tense situation and I just started like laughing, like making a joke about it. And I could have easily started crying before the skills, but then after I started making it light and laughing, like everything changed. Like it could have gone one way and it went the other.
You did it. It was all in your power.
Yeah. So yeah. And then again, it's just every day I realize now I'm a negative person and I am, and I hate to admit that, but like it takes conscious active effort every day like to keep my focus on gratitude. Like I can go shopping for pain anywhere and anything. I'm a glass half empty.
Yeah.
Yes. um so I'm still working on it, on self-care and perspective and gratitude. So it took again, this is 2019 when I got the book and was working on it. And 2 years later, which is when I first signed up for the podcast, we were coming up on our 10-year anniversary and I was feeling good. And like I wouldn't even have said at that point, like we had a stellar marriage. Like I was content and felt good, safe, secure, peaceful. And then he got me a new ring for 10-year anniversary and wrote me a love letter, which said everything I wanted to ever hear and more. And I was, yeah.
Wait, say that timeline again, because you said you were 19 when you got the book. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then,
yeah. So I got the book in 2019, and then it was 2 years later, this happened. So, I mean, looking back, saying it now, like it seems fast, but in it every day, it seems like forever. Yeah. And then I think something shifted in him, like that January, like he made changes and
let me see this ring, by the way. I see you around. It's beautiful. Okay. That was your 10-year. Wow. Yeah. Jessica, you've changed and I'm crazy about you. That's what that symbolizes, that ring. That
yeah, I secretly wanted one. I didn't even put the desire out there because I wanted it like not even as a desire to be filled, but just from him, like basically that he still wants to be married to me after everything we've been through. Because I have a lot of guilt and shame from all the years wasted. But I mean, after coming back through that, it's a new strength. Like I literally know there's nothing like that I can't handle. Like I have a handbook now, thanks to you. Like all the things you say, you don't listen, you don't do this. I know how to act in my marriage. Like I know what to do. I might not like it. It's not easy. It's not easy showing up with dignity all the time. But I know what to do. And like every day I have a map of what to do. And still things come up. Last summer I got my ring, we went on a beautiful vacation, and then life happens again and bring you back down to earth a little bit. But again, like it takes active effort. If ever like things are going south again or there's intimacy decreasing, I know it's because I'm not focused. I, it still happens. Unfortunately, we still have, periods of less intimacy, less affection, but I, I'm proud to say, like, I don't even notice it as much anymore. Like not in a cold way, but that panic, because I was consumed by fear in the battle days, like of an outburst of like losing even more intimacy, and I couldn't make any good decision out of fear. It was just constant. Uh, yeah.
Wow. Well, I think you should be really proud. I feel impressed with what you've accomplished here because what I hear you saying, I especially love your accountability when you say, I burned my marriage to the ground over the parenting issues, right? That I really, that was your sword that you died on or whatever anyway, it's just so accountable for you to take ownership. Like, this is what I did. And now what I hear you saying is, I know that if the intimacy goes down, I have a plan. I know what to do. It means there's something that needs my attention.
Yes. um, and it's, I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up my words. Like, it's hard to describe just the depth of where we were and the things that were said. And like now, we are talking about still trying to have another child. And I was trying to be vulnerable because every time I brought up the night and the sleeping thing, I guess it was a complaint, probably. And I said, I'm just nervous. I'm scared. Like, I don't know that I can do that again. And he said, what do you think I'm on this earth for? And like, and like, even if, we have another child and I do the night time alone again, like, I don't even care. Like, I can do it. Just like hearing that. And I'm so surprised. I feel like, whether he feels it or not, he's kind of, I don't know, say, let me off the hook for all the disrespect. I feel like, which I'm surprised by because I wouldn't blame him if he didn't. Uh, but again, like, I'll bring up some of the disrespect in the past, and I still feel guilty about, and he'll say, like, joking, like, are you still talking about that? Uh, and
Nice.
I just can't even describe like far, how far that is from, we weren't even roommates. It was a constant Cold War, just so again, I have your fucking skills only to think like saved my life and my family's life.
Oh, Jessica, I'm so moved to hear that. That is amazing. And I give you all the credit. You were so courageous. You're so humble and so accountable to even be willing to make these changes. It sounds, I mean, I know how much courage it takes to, even as you're talking about feeling sad about those years of disrespect, that takes a lot to get to that place, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I was a hard case. I really thought I was right, and I was taking the high road. So I feel like
Yeah.
such a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think you're a hard case. I think you're an amazing case actually, because and I think as we were talking earlier, you were saying like I wanted to come on the podcast because it didn't happen immediately, right? It didn't happen. It wasn't like 2 weeks later everything was better, but it sounds like you got some hope
yeah,
immediately.
yes, there is small sense of hope. And like the debate was still around the criticism, but I really had to get to the point that like we're at such rock bottom that like I grew up from divorced parents, and they just hated each other, and they let me know as much, and I knew I didn't want to do that, so I figured even if this ended, I have to figure out how to co-parent, and I finally figured out if we divorce, he's going to parent how he wants. I'm not going to be able to control it anyways. And so I actually, in doing the skills, and like at first when it was so hard, I started because I wanted his love and affection, and I had in my head, he's not going to do anything. And so then, like, doing the skills, like, I did not again get the response I wanted immediately because of all that built up resentment, disrespect, and hurt, like so much hurt. And at that point, I had to again think to keep doing it because I realized, as ironic as it is, that doing the skills to get his love and affection, I'm still trying to control, right? So then I was thinking, well, if this doesn't work to get it, I had so many examples of middle-aged women who are just unhappy and miserable, just so unhappy, and I didn't want to be that. So then it turned into doing it for me, and then it started to work. Um, so it's again like it was hard for me, especially being that low. But I mean now, uh, it's just so amazing. There's no fear. Um, I feel loved. I know I'm loved. Like, I had to convince myself that he still loved me at first, but then and because the only way I feel it really is verbal affection and affirmations. And even when those trail off, um, I know it's now, and that's a confidence that fear doesn't enter into it anymore. And it's just such a happy family and home, and he's a better parent than me.
Wait.
Yeah.
He's a better parent than you. Tell me
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
He's just the most amazing parent. He puts our family, me and our son first, never complains. He manages our daily emotions and schedule. It's just, there's so much laughter and fun and love. Um, and it's just such a like completely different picture than, you know, crying outside, sobbing, holding a baby. you know.
Being a ghost when he leaves for work and
Yeah. Yeah.
looking through you. So he doesn't do that anymore.
No. And the
Wow.
fact like again, like the intimacy, like we're not really touchy feely people, but it was such a cold war, and now like when we go to sleep, like I basically like am laying on his pillow. And
Oh.
again, that's very different. Yeah.
You must just feel on top of the world. Like this is a big accomplishment, first of all. Huge accomplishment. You've done something that your parents were not able to do, right? You're a product of a broken family, but the chain stops here, stops with Jessica.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I want to scream it from the rooftops. I'm so glad I found your book, and I'm so again embarrassed. He was telling me the whole time what I was doing wrong. I couldn't hear it though because it was built up in criticisms and hurts and anger. But
No one ever
I guess
taught you, too. No one ever taught you what it looked like to be respectful, right? To be a good listener, probably how to express your desires. None of that. I bet you were.
no, it guides my daily choices every single day. Like whether to have a desire about a pink color in the house or to just duct tape or um, even most recently, we had to solve the problem of dinner. That is a problem
Right.
every day for most
Right.
families. And I said, I'd love a home cooked meal and not have to cook it. And he brought home this beautiful rotisserie chicken and all these sides from the store and flowers and dessert. And I was so giddy. And I'm just sitting at the table, like being giddy because it was so sweet. And I see him like smiling back at me. Just again, my problem was I was never happy. I mean, combining that with survival mode, and I couldn't relax. If you feel like you're drowning and someone tells you to relax, you drown. Um, so looking back, like I didn't know what self-care was, but then even when I started it, I had to like heal, come from a deeper place. Like self-care was like a band-aid. And I still focused on the negative. Like you have to put them all together. You have to be happy. Because again, looking back over all the years, like he would like invite me to lunch in the middle of the day, and I would be unhappy because I wanted to go somewhere else for lunch. It's a lot of wrong focus. And again, all these examples I have of what not to be, not realizing that's exactly what I was doing the whole time. And now I see like these newlyweds around us and I cringe because they're nagging their spouse to get off their phones. Um, and, all this control I hear, and you're doing the dishes wrong. And I'm just like, maybe, it can sustain that. But, I fought tooth and nail because I wanted a shelf hung differently in the beginning, because you think the love will always be there and that's all you need. Um, but I would even put respect first now.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to just say to the other newlyweds, like, that's not going to work. Like, stop doing that or something, right? Like, or wait, here, I've got an idea for you. Yeah. Yeah. It is hard to watch other people. We suffer, right? Now that we know what we know, we've been where we've been. It can be painful to watch other people, other women tear down their marriages in a way that they don't know, they've never been taught either. But you are now a role model of what's possible. How has this affected your son?
Oh, he's just the best. He's flourishing. I just don't know how to thank you, or because if I think he would have been a different person, if even if we stayed in the same house, because my husband would say, like, and at the time I was hurt by it, but now I can see the heart message. He said, if this is how it's going to be, like, I'll take care of you, but why would you choose that path? He's saying if this ends, I'll take care of you, like financially, but why would you choose to do that? And my son actually, when I was trying to like fight my way through it and convince myself my husband loved me still at all, I think it was like maybe 3, and he wrote on a post-it, "Papa loves Mama." And at that point, it was again a hope. Like I didn't feel it, but I thought, if he sees it, there's something there, and I want him to see it. Because we were fighting in front of him at the time, and I learned a lot from watching him, and I especially from seeing my husband as kind of a hurt puppy instead of a raging bear. Somebody's like mad or upset, like I would internalize it. Like when he would get upset with a situation, when we were arguing over parenting and my son did something after the skills, like it took a while because I didn't believe it at first, but I put my hand on his shoulder, comfort him instead of getting mad, because I realized I'm getting mad at him for having feelings. And then I was just again realized kind of the hypocritical dynamic I had in my head, and I still do it, because he at that point he didn't see me at my worst parenting moments. They were in the middle of the night, and then I was always an audience to his. And again, like letting go and supporting whatever parenting he had. He's they were always going to have a wonderful relationship. It was whether or not he and I were. I'm sorry, I got a little lost. I don't even remember your question.
Well, actually, what I heard in that I wanted to explore a little bit was, so you were convinced that he was a narcissist, your husband was a narcissist. Was there any doubt in your mind that he was a narcissist before?
I mean, yeah, because, when we were dating all that time, I never saw any of that. It built up as there's like directly correlated to my disrespect. So it was just the criticisms, and like I would say how I feel, and like he would dismiss it, tell me wrong, don't care. And so it's just kind of, again, looking for how do you change this dynamic.
Yeah.
That's what I landed on. And especially the part, I only read it once, I don't know why, but the part in that chapter that said, you know how you feel like a queen. And I remembered that because being a teenager, and I felt like a queen. Like I felt worthy of having this guy's admiration and love, and like no one else did. And when you're on the inside, it feels great. You feel cherished. And I also realized that back then, I loved his ego and confidence, and I found it attractive. And just realizing how, yeah, my view had shifted. And I also realized that, I don't even think I covered it in detail, like the challenges we have faced, the obstacles. Um, I, I was unhappy and stressed because there was always something to be very stressed about. And then like even like financially, like things would get better, but I realized I don't feel better. So again, just every day I'm still like having eye openers, still trying to get better. Yeah. Life doesn't stop.
No.
So,
Well, 20 years on, I'm still having insights too about on my journey as well. So, as far as I know, that never stops. I don't think. Maybe I'll send you a postcard if I ever just like go, oh wow, I've had all the insights. I've arrived now. But so well, I'm really fascinated about this part with him, with you feeling like you were definitely married to a narcissist, because I think that's a common situation. I think, and you probably went online and took a quiz, and that was how you confirmed your suspicion that he was a narcissist. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. There was a checklist, and I went through it and checked all the boxes.
Checked all the boxes. So
Yeah.
he's definitely all that. But what about now? Is he a narcissist now?
No, and like I said, I feel even ashamed. I feel like I betrayed him. Like it was always us against the world, and me viewing him that way, because I mean that's what I felt I was experiencing. But now he's the most absolute selfless, caring, thoughtful, loving human being I know.
Same guy.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
Incredible. So I mean, it's incredible, right? Like, and I think for a listener who is married to a narcissist right now, and that sounds impossible. It sounds impossible to her. And it probably seemed impossible to you when you were living it also, right? So I just think it's inspiring. I appreciate you going over that part a little bit so that we could, because I wasn't married to a narcissist, so I can't ever really quite speak to that. But you have an experience that you were, and now you're not. And you've changed that single-handedly with just a book, right? And now you're having an experience of him being the most loving, giving person in the world. So it's like, that's a miracle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say is your best tip for a woman who is married to a narcissist, or even is just having these parenting disagreements where he won't be the kind of parent that she wants him to be, and she wants to have a great parent, like a great father like you have now, and she wants to see him, she wants to be married to the loving, caring guy that she fell in love with. What would you say to her? How should she start to get where you are?
Um, I would say like start with all the skills
Start with all
at
of them.
once. Yeah. It's again, it's a daily choice. And they're not easy choices. And you have to like I had to develop a thick skin and develop a confidence that I probably never really had. And from that, releasing control and expectation. And when you do that and consistently and stick with it, even if you feel like you're backsliding or it's not working, I guess that's again why I wanted to come and say, like, it took me 3 years to get here, and it's absolutely, absolutely worth it.
Yeah. Okay. And then what would you say to Jessica if you could tell her what you know now, if you could go back in time? What would you say to her?
Oh god, I I wasn't listening to anything at the time, so I wouldn't listen. But I probably would have said like, uh, "It is kind of your fault, but that's okay because you can change it." Like in any disarming way, just like your book. Because I felt helpless and out of control. Like I was watching my marriage just being destroyed, and I had no idea what to do. Um, like I wanted to do anything, and I had no idea. And like the specific words and phrases, like specific steps to do, saved my life.
Mm. Well, beautiful. I mean, yeah, your story is very inspiring. It's incredible. Actually, you are extraordinary. I'd like to give you a wife award right now. Here you go. Here's your award for fixing your
Thank you.
marriage. Because I think the world needs more women like you who you're willing to go to any lengths. And then even though they felt kind of overwhelming at first, it sounds like, and you didn't have a whole lot of support, and you had to just use the resources that were available to you, and you did it. And now there's a happy, loving, laughing family where there used to be a lot of stress and
Yeah.
heartache.
Yes.
So it's a big accomplishment, and I just want to do my happy dance with you.
Well, thank you. I've been wanting to come on here just to thank you for such a long time. It's really I keep replaying, you my history in my head and how far I've come, and I really just can't believe it. And I really have your book to thank for it.
Oh, fantastic! I'm very encouraged. So thank you for that, and thanks for coming on and sharing the whole story with us and inspiring the whole world.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest. And now it's time for the Worst Relationship Advice of the Week award.
It's the worst relationship advice of the worst relationship advice. Yeah, it's the worst relationship advice of the worst relationship advice of the week.
And the advice that has me booing in horror this week is from a relationship therapist who trains other relationship therapists. And he says that when fondness and admiration are gone from a marriage, he advises therapists to terminate treatment. The patient cannot be saved. Whew. This advice was sent in by a thoughtful student who clearly has a keen eye for terrible relationship advice. So here's a big shout out to you. Thank you for thinking of me and helping me make the podcast. I feel the love. And you did a great job with this worst relationship advice submission because I think it's the worst. And one of the things that's so precious and so fragile when your marriage is in a ditch is hope. There's nothing that will suck out your hope faster than an expert like a therapist who is trained by an even more authoritative expert who says to you, your marriage can't be saved. That's so discouraging. And yeah, I get that things may look very dark. It sure looked dark in my marriage early on, too. And if you share that darkness with a therapist who doesn't know how to help you, well, it might feel to them like they're actually contributing in some way by telling you that your marriage can't be saved. But for me, it's just like telling someone who's depressed that things will never get better. It's just kind of mean. Things can definitely get better in your marriage if you want them to, if you intend for them, if you take the actions that will make them better. You can rediscover fondness and admiration. And lots of women do that with the 6 intimacy skills, as you know, from listening to their stories here on the podcast. But when you're in a lot of pain and nothing seems to be working, it's very easy to feel hopeless. I've heard students say, well, this is nice for these other women in the program who are having success with fixing their marriages and feeling desired and getting the intimacy back. But my situation is different. It's just human to get scared like that sometimes. So it really makes me blow my top like a volcano when I hear about an authority figure deciding a marriage that he's not even inside of is hopeless. It's a lie. Once a woman gets her hands on the 6 intimacy skills, and especially with the connection framework, she starts practicing them. Well, it's pretty obvious that, to paraphrase Thomas Wolfe, miracles not only happen around here, they happen all the time. And for those reasons, the advice that when fondness and admiration are gone from a marriage, advising therapists to terminate treatment because the patient cannot be saved is the very, very, very worst relationship advice I have heard all week. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week, I'll share 3 responses for a husband who's never wrong. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that I watch TV with captions on because snacks are crunchy.